Hello and welcome to the Unmistakably Magic podcast. I'm your host, Cort, and each week I share the tips, tricks, facts, and hacks that I use to make my time at theme parks a little more magical. Today, I want to share the strategy that I use to ride everything in California Adventure without paying for Lightning Lane. People like to say that Animal Kingdom is a half-day park. I say that California Adventure is a half-day park. Honestly, this is probably one of, if not the easiest parks to ride everything in one day. Believe it or not, it's true. Definitely easier than Disneyland. And you can actually almost follow a step-by-step guide to ride everything in this park. So that's what I'm going to give you. Here's my step-by-step guide for riding everything in Disney California Adventure in one day. Let's jump right in. I know. I was kind of trashing DCA, Disney California Adventure. If you don't know what DCA stands for, Disney California Adventure. I know I was trashing DCA a little bit there in the intro, but I, believe it or not, firmly believe that DCA is a very underrated park. I think that's because it's right next door to Disneyland that people think, oh, it's just nothing. There's not a whole lot going on there. But California Adventure is honestly kind of the best of when it comes to Disney parks. It has, I would argue, the best versions of rides that Disney parks have, at least here in America. Disney Sea is probably the actual quote-unquote best of Disney parks, but is it really a Disney park, or is it just a licensed park, Disney licensed park? Different discussion, different day. But California Adventure has fantastic rides, and I would argue that it has the best versions of variations of rides. Guardians, best tower. Honestly, I like it more than Tokyo Sea's Tower of Terror. Radiator Springs Racers is the best test track or slot car ride. Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, best kind of whip ride, like Alien Swirling Saucers is another variation of this ride. Incredicoaster is, for now, better than Rock and Roller Coaster, at least until Muppets take over. I love my Muppets, so I have some high hopes for that ride there. But, it has the best tower version with Guardians. It has the best slot car version with Radiator Springs Racers. It has the best whip version ride with Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. It also has some of the top clone rides, right? Ariel's Undersea Adventure, one of the greatest dark rides that Disney has ever made. Honestly, one of the greatest dark rides out there. I think it's very underrated. Midway Mania, fantastic. And Soarin', the original Soarin'. Epcot's got the clone. Epcot's got the one that's over there. Tokyo Disney Sea has the clone. It started here at California Adventure. Honestly, it was the anchor attraction at California Adventure. And on top of all of those rides, it has some incredible exclusives too. Grizzly River Run. Longest, I don't think it's still the tallest, but it's still the longest raft-style ride in the world. Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue, another incredible dark ride there. The Pixar Pal Around, the last, I forget the style of, I'm a terrible theme park enthusiast. The style of, I think it's the Wonder Wheel is what it's called, but the most recent Wonder Wheel ever built. Web Slingers, fun ride, debatable if it fits in that park or not. And Luigi's, right? Luigi's is an awesome trackless ride that's not a dark ride, but it's an awesome trackless ride that you don't really get anywhere else. And while those might not be at the top of everyone's list, put any of those rides in a different Disney park. I think they instantly jump to the top 10, probably top 5. Honestly, maybe top 3 in any other Disney park. And again, here in America. But I think it jumps to the top rides. And that speaks volumes for the ride quality at California Adventure. It's filled with, and I'm gonna call them bangers. It's filled with bangers. The majority of the rides at California Adventure just slap for all my millennials out there. And believe it or not, you can ride all of them in a matter of hours. 19 total rides, just a few hours. How? Well, I said this in the Disneyland episode, and it holds true here too. The majority of people who visit California Adventure live nearby. They're locals, meaning they live in Southern California, which means you can use that to your advantage if you are visiting from not Southern California, or it's your goal to just ride everything at California Adventure in one go in a couple hours. Because Southern Californians, in general, are late to everything. Any sporting event, they're showing up late. Any movie, they're showing up late. I made the joke last week that Hollywood invented movie trailers because of Southern Californians, and I still think it's true. Tinfoil hat right there. But they're just unable to be on time or early to just about any event. So take advantage of that. I take advantage of that every time that I go. And how do I do that? I wake up early and I rope drop the park. I get to the turnstiles as early as I can, typically 45-ish minutes before the park actually opens. And then I'm in and ready to go. And much like Disneyland, there is one really big anchor attraction that the majority of people tend to, I should say, briskly walk to at Rope Drop, and that is Radiator Springs Racers. I avoid it, just like I do over in Disneyland with Rise of the Resistance. I avoid Radiator Springs Racers right out of the gate. I don't do it. It gets a long line early in the day, has a slight lull, not as much of a lull as Rise of the Resistance does, but a slight lull after the first hour-ish of the park being open, and all the tourists. So basically everyone that you're competing against, everyone that you are rope dropping with, because we established earlier, Southern Californians tend to not rope drop, especially over at Disneyland and California Adventure. All the tourists, they go over to Radiator Springs Racers, and that's your competition. So what do I do? Instead of going where every tourist goes, I head over to Guardians of the Galaxy. Mission Breakout. That ride is a favorite with locals and builds up an insanely long line as the day goes on. So if I can get on that ride without waiting an hour or more, honestly, 45 minutes or more, I'm doing it. So that's my first stop right at Rope Drop. Then after that, head over to Pixar Pier to ride Midway Mania, another favorite amongst locals. That gets a long line as the day goes on. I think as the day goes on, Midway Mania and Guardians are the two that build up the longest lines. Racers kind of always has that long line, but Midway Mania, Guardians, they build up a long line because locals tend to fill in the park later on throughout the day or later on in the day. And after Midway Mania, it's easy breezy, pretty smooth sailing from here on out. So I go on Incredicoaster, then I start making the loop over to Soarin'. However, I take the long way over to Soarin'. So I walk through Paradise Park. That means I'm going by Goofy Sky School. I'm going to ride that while I'm over there. Probably 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30. In general, within the first couple hours of the park, it does not get more than 20, 25-ish minutes. And that's probably because all of the families are over in Cars Land, still riding Radiator Springs Racers or Mater's Junkyard Jamboree or Luigi's, what do they call it now, Rollickin' Roadsters. Again, terrible theme park enthusiasts. I'm awful this episode. But after Goofy's, I get over to Soarin', ride Soarin'. While I'm over there, it's still early in the morning. People don't like getting wet. I don't mind water rides at all. I might be a weirdo for saying that. But I go on Soarin', then I ride Grizzly River Run. And then I'm heading over back to Pixar Pier to ride probably the Pixar Pal Around, Inside Out, two that are slow loading. They have a little bit of a process to load. So I'm riding those before either of those lines really get long. And then I'm working my way over to Cars Land to do Mater's and Luigi's. If that doesn't work out, just based off of whatever the times are, based off of whatever the wait times are, I'm using my app, Disneyland app, another kind of pro tip there. But I use that, and I'll probably head over to Paradise Garden again to ride Ariel's, Jumpin' Jellyfish, Golden Zephyr, assuming it's open and it's not slightly breezy, and the Silly Symphony Swings, right? So my goal here is just kind of do these attractions that take a little bit longer to load and provide a little bit of wind so that I can dry off after a very soaking wet ride on Grizzly River Run. I rarely skip Grizzly River Run, honestly. That ride is incredible. It's some of the best theming that you're going to get anywhere on any Disney park, especially any raft ride. That thing's awesome. So much fun. I don't mind hanging out with strangers on this ride. Typically, they're really fun. They're really chatty, and I enjoy it. So after getting soaked on Grizzly River Run, I try to dry off. So I either do the Pixar Pal Around, like I said, and Inside Out, or I'm doing the other kind of spinny attractions, spinny rides on the Paradise Gardens side of Pixar Pier. Old Paradise Gardens? Old Paradise Pier? I don't know. Their naming convention is still a little odd, in my opinion, over on that side over there. But by this time, it's probably time for a late lunch, which means there's at least 7 hours to do the last 4 rides. So after I've done all of those rides, everything over in Pixar, the Pixar Pier area, anything over in Cars Land except Radiator Springs Racers, I'll grab lunch wherever I'm at. Then I'm heading over to Web Slingers. This one can build a little bit of a line, but the queue is interesting enough once you get on the inside that I'm okay waiting that 45, probably 50 minutes that it's going to be. And then I'm going over to what many consider to be an often forgotten ride, because I forget that it's there quite frequently. It's PhilharMagic, which just bring in another preview for Tron. That crushed. That was incredible. Way back in the day, back in the early 2000s, 2000, I think 8 is what it was when they brought that in there. And they had like a 3D Tron experience. They had all sorts of effects. They turned what was the Muppet Theater. This was, I think, the beginning of the removal of the Muppets at California Adventure, or was the removal of the Muppets at California Adventure. And they had a Tron preview in there. Well, we're getting a new Tron movie. Put Tron Ares in there. Take PhilharMagic out. See ya, Mickey. We can watch that. I think it's on Disney Plus. It might not be on Disney Plus. We can watch it over in Magic Kingdom. I don't care. Whatever. Put Tron back. Bring Tron to California Adventure. People will absolutely remember that you have a 4D theater in there that has some cool effects, and utilize it, right? Just show an extended preview. Disney, $1 million idea right there. Tron's going to be awesome. Tron Ares is going to be sick. Throw Tron Ares preview in there. Okay. Let's get off a tangent, airlines. After PhilharMagic, after cooling off a little bit in that glorious AC and watching Donald Duck cause issues, cause problems, I'm heading over to Mike and Sully's. Again, probably going to have a decent outdoor wait time. Hopefully not more than 10 or 12 minutes outside, and then it's smooth sailing once you're inside, because that's where the lightning lane combines. Once you're inside, you're good. Fun queue, and then I'm doing single rider at Radiator Springs Racers. That is the best single rider line in the entire resort of Disneyland. Honestly, if you're looking for a single rider attraction that you can consistently hack and use to your advantage, Radiator Springs Racers has never failed me. Really, if you want to change this up a little bit and do Radiator Springs Racers earlier in the day, I don't know when they opened the single rider line. If it's open at Rope Drop, go ride it at Rope Drop. Single rider that thing, you're in, out 5 minutes max, and then continue on with the rest of your day. Or really, if single rider is not an option for you, you have kids, you have to ride together with your group just really wants to ride together, okay, rope dropping Radiator Springs Racers might be in your playbook. I will give you that. That's totally fine. If that's the case, though, you'll need to get to the park probably like an hour before, especially if there's early park entry. You're not going to save a ton of time if there's early park entry for Radiator Springs Racers, because all of those early entry guests, even though Radiator Springs Racers is not on the attractions list for early entry, they're all going to start lining up. They're all going to take advantage of their time in the park that they get before you, and they're going to start lining up right at the entrance of Radiator Springs Racers. And guess what? Now you got a couple hundred people that they have to cycle through in order to get to you. So even if you're the first person at Rope Drop, it's still in my opinion, not worth it. Just single rider that line later on in the day. You're going to wait probably about the same time as you waited at rope drop after the park opens. Not even your time before. But you're not getting a ton of value by rope dropping Radiator Springs Racers. So if you still have to, and you still think that that's the best option, get there early, and then make sure you're amongst the first ones. If you're more than 2 or 3 layers deep on the rope drop or on the rope, I might as well say sayonara, see you later, Radiator Springs. Going to Pixar Pier, going to Guardians, pick one of the two, and ride those rides. And then, if you are fortunate enough to be able to get amongst the first ones at the rope, if you are there at the rope, cool. That's great. Follow Radiator Springs Racers, then follow the rest of the plan that I mapped out. But that's basically the step-by-step guide to doing everything in DCA. And I've used this to get everything done in DCA before lunch, which is awesome. I think that's great. If that's not a half-day park, I don't know what is. It's kind of crazy to me how much you're able to get done during the early park hours, especially here at California Adventure. I think Disneyland draws way more of a crowd and can handle way more people. And more people are excited to go over to Disneyland than they are to California Adventure, which, again, I think I understand it. I get it. But at the same time, California Adventure just has so many bangers of rides. The ride lineup at California Adventure is incredible. And if it wasn't right next door to Disneyland, I think it'd be one of the most popular parks in the world. It'd certainly be, if California Adventure was over at Disney World, I think it would bring as much of a crowd as probably Magic Kingdom. That might be a controversial thing to say. Man, am I willing to... Yeah, I'm willing to stand on that assumption. California Adventure, it's such an underrated park. It's such a great park. And nobody goes to it first thing in the morning. So if you go to it in the first thing in the morning, you're able to just do the whole park by probably 2 p.m. Maybe 3 p.m. since web slingers can get a crazy long line for, in my opinion, no real good reason. And I only say that because it's got Midway Mania in the same park. It's a 5-minute walk to get from one shooting 3D dark ride to the other. It's just, do you want it Toy Story themed or do you want it Marvel themed? And if you want it Marvel themed, you're not really getting it Marvel themed. You're just getting it Tom Holland themed, which could be enough for some people. That's fine. No judgment, whatever. But early in the morning at DCA, it's basically a ghost town because everyone kind of gravitates over to Disneyland. So take advantage of that. It's awesome. It's underrated. You're able to do pretty much everything right out of the gate. And I think if you're going to go to Disneyland or the Disneyland Resort for one day and one day only, I think it might be beneficial to rope drop California Adventure, do everything in California Adventure, and then park hop over to Disneyland and start cranking out those rides. And maybe one day I'll go back there and run this experiment, run this test to see what the method is, what the strategy is, and see if it's better to rope drop Disneyland or California Adventure, because it's been a minute since I've rope dropped California Adventure, if I'm going to be honest. However, again, you can get it done so quickly because it is a ghost town. So just a quick recap here. My route through DCA is Guardians, then Midway Mania, Incredicoaster, Goofy, Soarin', Grizzly, Inside Out, Pixar Pal Around, Silly Symphony Swings, Jumpin' Jellyfish, Golden Zephyr, Aerials, then Mater's, Luigi's. If I'm over there and feeling it as I'm walking over to kind of Marvel or something, I might take a peek at the single rider line for Radiator Springs Racers and hop in there. If that's not an option or it's not happening that day, or it's a little too long for my liking, I'll head over to Marvel, go on Web Slingers, then hit up the Hollywood section, do PhilharMagic, Mike and Sully's, and then I'll end the day over at Radiator Springs Racers. And honestly, Radiator Springs Racers is probably the perfect ride to end your day at California Adventure with, even if your day ends at 2 p.m. End your day over at California Adventure because it's probably one of the greatest dark rides ever made. I would argue that it's on a similar level as Rise over at Disneyland. I think it's a little more dynamic than what Rise offers. If you're not a Cars fan, I think you can still enjoy Radiator Springs Racers. If you're not a Star Wars fan, Rise might be a little more difficult to enjoy. It might be a little more, little more troublesome to justify waiting in such a long line for. Plus, Racers has single rider line. Rise doesn't. Just saying, throwing that out there. You know, you're generally going to wait less in line for Radiator Springs Racers than you are for Rise of the Resistance. It's got great animatronics, though. Perfect pacing, in my opinion. It does such a good job with its pacing on everything. It has just enough excitement to make you want to ride again. Has a level of competition in it. It's always fun pseudo smack talking, lightly smack talking. That car that pulls up right next to you, that I enjoy that. I think it's fun. And it's long enough that your wait time usually feels worth it. If you're waiting 3 hours in line, that's too much. But if you're doing probably 90 minutes or less, I think you can justify that. I think the ride duration is long enough that you're gonna feel like you got your money's worth, or your weight's worth, I should say, out of it, because it's a long ride, tells a fantastic story, has awesome audio animatronics, and it's just a fun, thrilling end as well. Even if it doesn't go super fast, you get a little bit of airtime. I'd wait longer in line for Radiator Springs Racers than I would for Rise of the Resistance. Which, if you told Cort that his first time riding Rise of the Resistance, or after getting off of Rise of the Resistance for the first time, he would have vehemently disagreed with you. He would have said, there's no shot. Rise is way better than Racers. I think it's up for debate. And I think modern day Cort would wait longer for Racers than he would for Rise. But that's really the DCA strategy right there. That's all there is to it. Nice, quick, short episode for you here, and it's a quick, short park to get through. It's easy. It's simple. Pretty straightforward. And like I said, that's it. That's the California Adventure strategy. Thank you, California Adventure, for, one, being a pretty straightforward park. Two, not really drawing in much of a crowd in the morning. And three, giving us this incredible Soarin' soundtrack. Because let's be honest, Soarin' Around the World, as nice of a little bump up it is in a lot of ways, that OG, that original Soarin' over California soundtrack, I got to give it to it. It's just better, right? But that's it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty simple park to complete. Mostly because, again, the majority of people that go to California Adventure get there after 2 or 3 p.m. and take advantage of that early morning park time. You'll be able to get everything done without really much issue, and then you can hop on over to Disneyland, or if you just have a 1-day, 1-park ticket and you choose to spend that 1-day, 1-park ticket at California Adventure, enjoy the ambiance. Enjoy the things that you can't get over at Disneyland, which, if you're over 21, I think you know what I'm talking about. And you just get beers. Go get beers. Go get some fun mixed drinks. Go get some fun cocktails. Pim's has some good seltzers, some good drinks, some good beers that you can't really get elsewhere on the resort or in the Disneyland resort. And if you're able to, go get a Lamplight Lounge reservation. Hang out on there. Hang out. Try to get down by the water. I love it down there. Have a nice cocktail, a little appetizer. It's awesome. It's definitely more of an adults park. It's more of the thrill rides park, which is probably a big reason why most people tend to show up in the afternoon, if they show up at all, really. And that's why Disneyland tends to grab much more of a crowd. But enjoy it. It's got a lot going on there. even if the rides are pretty easy to go through and work their way through. So, but that just wraps up the show today. I hope you go to a theme park, that you have a magical week, and I'll see you real soon.